Hello everyone, this is Kirya Does Things. I'm Kirya and we will do things here. And we will start with a video about F1 fantasy. F1 is my main sport that I have been following. And I'm playing F1 fantasy from 2017. I have done some good things in the past, some top 10 finishes in Greece, not in the world, obviously. It's quite hard to be there. But I enjoy playing it, and I thought it might be fun to talk about it and even help me get better at the game and try to improve through talking about it to people. Obviously, English, by the way, is not obviously my first language, but it's okay. It's an opportunity for me to try to get better at English, talking in English. I'm Greek. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's see what happened in Bahrain. So as you can see, I scored 219 points, which it is quite good. We did pretty well. And the main reason that we did well was that I picked the correct meta of Red Bull and Ferrari. Now the big question mark before Bahrain was, is it better to pick two good teams and a good driver and some not good drivers, or was it the best to get Red Bull, Verstappen and a mid team like RB? A lot of people went for Red Bull and RB because the noise from pre-season testing was that RB is going to surprise people and be pretty good. They weren't in the end, but I took this approach even though I thought RB might be decent, and the reason why I thought this was better than the Verstappen, Red Bull and some not very good team approach was because I looked at the rules and it seemed to me like getting two good constructors that usually have the best pit stops was the best choice, and it was. Let's see a little bit the scoring. So okay, RB and Ferrari obviously are good teams anyway, especially Red Bull is going to give you a lot of points, of course. So obviously we will get a lot of points from race position, qualifying position, and positions gained, maybe fastest lap. That's not the important part though. It's not important because if you have Verstappen, you're going to get a lot of points from him as well, right? The factor that made this better than the Verstappen approach is that Red Bull and Ferrari always have the best pit stops, and in F1 Fantasy the fastest pit stop gives 10 points, the second fastest gives 5, and the third gives 3. And these two teams got all of these three bonuses, right? Ferrari got the fastest and the second fastest, and Red Bull got the third fastest. McLaren usually is one of the teams that does fast pit stops, but they're not really relevant at this point because they are not good enough to merit having them, because they are quite expensive. They are more expensive than Ferrari, and they are not very good right now, at least in F1 fantasy terms. So the first basic reason that I went for two good teams here is this: the fastest, not the fastest lap, sorry, the fastest. I can't speak. The fastest pit stops. The second one was the bonus that if both drivers go to Q3. To be fair, Perez wasn't getting to Q3 a lot of the times last season, but starting a new season, a new car, Red Bull seems very good. I don't see a reason to think right now that Perez will not go to Q3 until he proves otherwise. Okay, so these two bonuses are constructors only. obviously. They both drivers Q3, obviously, and the fastest pit stop as well. So having one of them, and then instead of Ferrari having RB, was a bad choice. It just was. Okay, RB scored, like, let's see here. RB scored 7 points. Even if they were decent and they score like 15, 20 points, it's still not worth it. It still is not worth it. Look at the difference between Ferrari and Mercedes. This is mainly due to better positions, of course, but also the pit stops. Mercedes is not that good at pit stops. They are decent, but they're not that good. Ferrari usually and Red Bull are the best, along with McLaren. Okay, so I was right about the meta in general. That getting this road, this approach, was the best one. That was right. The things I got wrong were, first of all, not getting Perez instead of Leclerc. Now, Sainz obviously scored the most points out of these three. However, I still think that the best one was probably to get Perez, because the thing is, Carlos got a lot of points mainly because he got driver of the day, and that is something that we couldn't really guess. And also Leclerc had a lot of problems. So it didn't work out for me with Leclerc, arguably because Leclerc gets a lot of poles and gets a lot of P2s in qualifying. You could say that he's not very good in F1 Fantasy compared to the others. It's not that big of a difference. I kind of like Leclerc as well as a driver, so maybe being a fan of him is not helping me in F1 Fantasy, but still I thought it's a good try, and in qualifying it seemed like it was to go for Leclerc. Unfortunately, his problems with the brakes didn't help. So one mistake is this, and I will probably go for Perez for the next race in Saudi. The only problem is that Perez is about 2 million more expensive than Leclerc, but I think it's still worth considering the Red Bull race pace that we saw, and Perez usually gets overtakes because he qualifies a little bit further back. So one thing is this that cost me points. The other thing is probably Yuki. Now, Yuki and Bottas didn't have a good F1 Fantasy and F1 race. The thing is, Bottas was unlucky, mainly. Bottas was very unlucky because in turn 1, he hit the back of Hülkenberg, who was the reason that the crash happened. He crashed onto Stroll, and Bottas was just unlucky to hit him. Okay, so first off, this happened with Bottas, and then he had the ridiculous 52-second pit stop. So it's not about the race pace of Sauber. It's not about Bottas' performance here. It's mainly being unlucky. Yuki, on the other hand, didn't fill me with confidence. He is fast. He qualified well. But he didn't have either a very good race pace or good strategy. So maybe Yuki is someone to change for the next race. And he is kind of expensive if you compare him to the other not very good teams, like Williams, Sauber, and even Alpine, maybe. Alpine were terrible in F1. They were last in qualifying. They were the slowest team in the race. However, they are not that bad in F1 Fantasy because you just get some points just because they will get some positions by not crashing, just existing. But they are still somewhat expensive, 7 point something million. So you can probably get something better, but they're not bad, the Alpines. And lastly, I went with Stroll, who scored 8 points, which is meh. Stroll is a little bit expensive. He's about 11-12 million. But Aston Martin is clearly the 5th fastest car. They're not worse, they're not best, they're better. So I think he's probably worth it. And think about it. What happened in Bahrain was that Stroll qualified P12. He got crashed on from Hülkenberg in turn 1. So Stroll was last. And then he got up to P10. He had a very good race. And you would think that the P20 to P10 would give him a lot of points. The problem is that he qualified 12th, so the race positions gained, as you can see, is only 2, from 12th to 10th. So and also he didn't make a lot of overtakes to go from P20 to P10. So the thing is, Stroll didn't score many points because he didn't get many overtakes from 20th to 10th. A lot of that was strategy. They used the undercut to get a lot of positions, and then because Aston Martin had the race pace, he stayed ahead. So that's why he didn't score many points. I still think he is worth for the next race because he will probably qualify again not great, maybe P12, 13, 14, whatever, and he will get some positions to go to P10. And worst case scenario, even if he goes from P10 to P10, it's going to be not terrible at least. You could make an argument that he's not very worth if that happens though, because he is quite expensive. I'm gonna think about it. I'm not sure about Stroll. My cat is here. I don't know. Oh, you can see him, but say hi to people. This is my cat, and he's meowing now because he wants company, I think. Anyway, we will continue. So that was that from the Bahrain Grand Prix. We did well. I don't remember if I showed this. I am top 100,000 in the world. By the way, I only have one team. I don't really see the point of playing an F1 fantasy game and having a lot of teams because it will be very safe to just go with 3 different approaches, and it doesn't feel like if I watch the race and something bad happens and I have to be okay, in my team 1 I have this, but in my team 2 and 3 I have the other guy and the other team, and that's fine, but it's not very fun. First of all, it's not fun, and I'm playing to have fun, okay? So it's not very fun, and it doesn't feel that that good when you do well. It doesn't feel that bad when you do badly. So I don't really see the reason to play like that. I always play with one team and one team only. So that was my team. I did pretty well. I was in the top 100,000 people, and that might not seem great. The first thing is there were 1.5 plus million teams, so it's pretty good already. And other than that, a lot of people use the extra DRS that gives 3 times points on a driver in the first race. I don't really know why. Like, strategy wise, it doesn't make any sense to do that. And okay, obviously, if some people have done this and have a lot of points now, they will be like, oh, it was worth because I got the. Let's say that they got Verstappen 3 times, and they even had Sainz, and they got him 2 times, and they have now sit a lot of points. Okay, who cares? Like it's not a sprint, it's a marathon, as they say. A fun fantasy, for sure. So if you think about the people that have already done this, we have had a very good start, I think. Now, what can we do to improve for Saudi is a very good question. Let's say a little bit about the values and what happened. Now, first things first, a lot of drivers got more expensive. I don't really know why. I don't know how they determine which drivers get more expensive and which don't or go lower. Obviously, it has something to do with the points that they got, but some of this don't really make sense to me. Anyway, so let's say here I have the team that I might go for. We have 2 free transfers. So I was thinking of changing Leclerc to Perez, and then changing who was that? Tsunoda, Yuki, to get some value out of him because he is quite expensive, as we said, and RB is not that good. Doesn't seem that good, and get someone cheap like Magnussen so that everybody fits nicely. This makes more sense to me instead of keeping Tsunoda instead of Magnussen and changing Stroll, because there's really not anyone that builds me with confidence that they will get good points instead of Stroll. So this is probably the team that I will go. Obviously, I make a lot of changes. And the point at the weekend that I'm pretty sure that this is my team is usually after FP2, that I study a little bit about quali pace and race pace after practices, and even sometimes FP3 to actually be sure on what I want to do. But at this stage, I feel pretty confident that this is a decent team to go for, because we only have the 2 changes, and I think this is the best approach to do things. However, let's think about doing anything else. I think Verstappen is not a good pick, as I said before, for the reasons that I mentioned. I still think that getting Verstappen in is not a good idea, because think about that Verstappen just had a pole position, first place, and a fast lap. Even if he got on top of that driver of the day, he still wouldn't be worth it that much. So I think this is the best approach. Now, what else? Who else could be good? Instead of Perez going for a Hamilton or a Russell or even a Sainz, I still don't think it's not good. I could go Sainz instead of Perez, and then get some of the other drivers as some better drivers instead of them, but at lower positions right now it doesn't really matter. Like getting Ricciardo, who is 8.9 million, doesn't really give me, I think right now, a better average of points instead of getting even Sargent, to be honest. So what is the point of getting a, I think, worse choice, getting a Sainz instead of Perez, if we're not going to get more benefit compared to the disadvantage that I think is to change Perez for Sainz. Okay, so that's my approach. Obviously McLaren is not worth it right now, not the constructors nor the 2 drivers. They are not good enough. Maybe they will be very good at Saudi because of the high speed corners, and they were excellent at high speed tracks last season. I don't think I will go for that because Lando is way too expensive, and even if they are good, will they be good enough to be worth getting them in these positions? I don't think so. I think I have to see McLaren be the second fastest team in Saudi and do very well, be like Ferrari were last weekend, and then next race seem in practice like they are the second fastest team again, and then I will consider getting them. Right now I see no reason. Same thing with Mercedes, really. They were okay, they were fine. They're not worth the millions that they cost, not the constructors nor the drivers. Mercedes and McLaren are more expensive than Ferrari. Like, what's the point of doing that? They don't have the pace right now. They don't have the pit stops. So what's the point? I hope you don't hear my cat crying in the background. But I'm sorry if you can. So McLaren is off the cards right now. Mercedes is also off the cards for me. They're not good enough right now for all the reasons that I have mentioned before. I could make a case of trying to get Alonso in. I'm not sure about it because I don't see Aston Martin doing better. And let's say Alonso does. I don't see Alonso getting a better position than like P9, P8 in the race. And if he is going to qualify if he's going to qualify well and drop down, it's definitely not worth it. He's quite expensive, and maybe I could fit him, but in order to fit him, I think we have to not get Perez and do some other changes that we can't really do right now with the two transfers. So he's definitely not worth it right now, Fernando. And the rest, as I said, I think it's kind of luck of the draw. So it's kind of random right now which driver will give you like 0 points or 5 points, or like Joe, I can't say his name. I think it's Joe. He got 11 points. Okay, fine, but I don't think it's because Joe is randomly great now. It's the circumstances, and Sauber seems like they have a decent pace, but I don't think he's 1 million more worth than Bottas. So I will stick to that. I don't see this is a good reason to change. So maybe instead of Kevin, we can get Albon. It's 60. Albon has a 60% picked ratio. So I don't really like this. I don't think he's going to do well enough to get him when everyone has him. It's better to differentiate a little bit, I think, if you want to look at the top positions in F1 Fantasy. I don't think it's a good idea to get him right now. Obviously, I'm not saying that every driver or every team that has a high pick rate should be off your a team. That's not how it works. What I'm saying is, if they have a high pick rate and they are similar to other choices, you should probably go for the other choices. That's think about it, how it's like I want to win the lottery, and I have equal chance of doing it with betting on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, and numbers like 17, 24, like 31, 32, and 44. A lot of more people will have... Stop crying. I'm trying to record here. So a lot of more people will choose numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, And then if it happens that you win, you have to share the prize. So what's the point? Like, it makes sense if you want to be mediocre at the game to choose all the highly picked drivers, but doesn't really make sense if you want to do well. So there's that. So I don't really think it's a good idea to pick Albon instead of Kevin. Also, Haas race pace was pretty decent. They seem to have sorted their things out compared to last season. And Magnussen usually is not the greatest qualifier. He's pretty decent at race pace, so I think it's a good idea to get him. Maybe Hülkenberg. I like Hülkenberg, but instead in F1 terms, F1 fantasy, terms, he's not that good compared to Magnussen, I think. And it's one or the other. It's not like if I choose Hülkenberg, I can do something good with the 0.5 million that I get. So I'm pretty sure this is the best team that we can do right now. Now, what else I wanted to talk about? Here you can see my ranks. Let's see how the Saudi practice goes first, and then maybe I would consider doing some changes. But for now, I think it's a pretty good starting position that we have. I think as I said, the meta is this, Red Bull and Ferrari, and I will continue to support this until it goes badly. So I think that's it for today. I hope you find it interesting. If you are playing F1 Fantasy, tell me what do you think about my strategy, what strategies do you follow, and what do you think will be the meta. Yeah, so like and subscribe and all that YouTube stuff, and I will see you probably after Saudi. Take care, bye.